Charlie Gard, a baby less than a year old, lies in a London hospital. He has an exceptionally rare genetic condition, which means he has severe brain damage. He's deaf and he cannot move his limbs. Charlie's doctors at Great Ormond Street Hospital believe that Charlie has no quality of life and no real prospect of any quality of life, and that his current treatment should be withdrawn. Yet, the devoted and desperate parents of this terminally ill baby disagree, and they have received support from hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, including the Pope and the US President. They say where there is life, there is always hope, and the hospital should allow Charlie to receive an experimental treatment if there is even the slenderest chance that he could benefit. As we await their verdict, it's clear to me who should decide this terribly difficult issue. This is such a grave case that, in my view, it must be left to the courts, not the parents, to hear the evidence of the medical experts and interpret the law and act in the best interests of the child, even if that means the state goes against every parental instinct and orders that nature must take its course.
See, with this issue, Rachel, I don't even understand why there's a case. To me, the parents have raised the money themselves. They are not asking for the NHS to fund this. And if there is a treatment that could possibly work in America, what have we got to lose to try, considering the alternative is this child is going to die? I just don't even understand why there is a case. I don't think the doctors should be allowed to decide. It'd be different if they were asking for the NHS to pay for this treatment, but they've raised millions of pounds themselves. They've gotten citizenship for this child to be treated in America. I don't get it.
Listen, I mean, I think we all understand where the parents are coming from, but what the hospitals and the courts have both agreed, which is they have to represent the best interests of the child in this case. The child is a separate legal entity. In court, he's represented by his own barrister. Right. The parents and the child, although they are the child's parents, are separate. And the courts and the experts, and I know that we don't believe in experts anymore, but in cases like this, when this child is been described by the High Court, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal and the European Court of Human Rights as not a viable child, and if this is a futile case, the hospital concerned, Great Ormond Street, is keeping a baby in an intensive care bed. I hate to say this, but it seems to me at any cost to us and at any cost to this child. And at this point, I think that the state has a duty to intervene.
But can I also just quickly add to that? If they allow these parents to take the child out of the country, it will no longer cost Great Ormond Street. The parents have raised the money for this themselves.
I don't think this is actually about money. I think this is about humanity.
It's about humanity, but my point is, in the same way there are experts here saying that this child has no quality of life, there are experts in America saying possibly there's a treatment that might work. Doctors do get it wrong, Rachel.
Yes, I know, but I think in this case, Carol, I mean, do you want to summarise some of the expert opinions we've had so far?
I think no parent wants to believe that there isn't a medication or a medicine out there that's going to cure their child, and these parents are absolutely no different, and they're doing exactly the right thing. They're exploring every avenue they can. However, this is not about euthanasia or assisted dying, it's about understanding the limitations of medicine. And this child, and you said in the intro, not only is he blind, he's deaf, he's catastrophically brain damaged, and he can't move. Now, this medicine, if it worked, what it could do is maybe allow him life off a ventilator. Now, talk to any doctor, talk to anyone. We're looking at Charlie as a baby right now. We're not looking at his life. If he gets off the ventilator, we're not looking at his life as a toddler, as a teenager, as a man. This child will have no sensory perception whatsoever.
The parents dispute that he's blind.
And how can they dispute that?
And also, can I just say, we're looking at the limits of British medicine.
Yeah,
there is American medicine that might work.
You said the doctors have been wrong. They were wrong. You might remember the case of little Aisha King a couple of years ago, who had a brain tumour, whose parents wanted to take him to Prague.
Completely different case.
But it is a completely different case. And yes, and those parents were criminalised, and that little boy no longer has cancer. But this is different. This is different. This little boy has.
Can I throw to a clip from a family spokesman?
Yeah, sure.
Let's have a look.
We've been requesting this specialised treatment since November and never asked the hospital, the courts or anyone for anything except for the permission to go. We love him more than life itself. If he is still fighting, then we are still fighting.
Well, I don't understand how we can disagree with that.
Yeah, listen,
Rachel.
I mean, of course, it's very, very emotional, and anyone who's had children can understand that it's the hardest thing for these parents to let their child go when they think there might be the slightest chance. But I think we have to hear from what the hospital said. It has been and remains the unanimous view of all those caring for Charlie at Great Ormond Street that withdrawal of ventilation and palliative care are all that the hospital can offer him, consistent with his welfare. That's because in the view of his treating team and all those from whom Great Ormond Street obtained second opinions, he has no quality of life and no real prospect of any quality of life. Do you think
that's the point? The point is the crux of this whole thing is what's best for Charlie. And as I say, even if this medicine does something for him, there is no medicine in the world that is going to give that boy quality of life. And I'm thinking about him. The parents, absolutely, they will do anything to try and keep this boy alive. But it's maybe not always the best thing.
Greg, do you think that we're seeing something else happening here, which is obviously a disregard for experts, as Michael Gove said, we've all had enough of experts, and also an excessive regard perhaps for a religious occupation of this story?
What I don't know is if, and I presume this is the real dilemma, are you making his position worse? Is he in pain if you try to take him to America? And we don't know that. If it's not, then I tend to agree with you. I can't see any reason why he hasn't gone. But I suspect what they're saying is, look, it's not going to make any difference. But that's up to the parents. That's their decision, I think. The question is it painful for the child? Is it? And we don't know that.
And we don't know.
And I think you've got to rely on the medical evidence in those circumstances.
Well, the medical evidence is unanimous, and the court is waiting for fresh medical evidence. It's not waiting for more impassioned pleas on behalf of those representing the Gard family, because it will not act on emotion. It can only act on fact. Michelle, when I said religious, I mean what we've seen is, Catholic hospitals, it's sort of become, in a sense, a test case for pro-life, a baby's life at any price.
Yeah, but then, see, this is when you was doing it, it gives me goose pimples, because I think I'm not a mum and I can't imagine, becoming a mum, and then you've got your baby, you take your baby home, you fall in love with this baby, it becomes part of your life, and then all of this has happened, I think, starting from when he was about 8 weeks old or something. Yeah. So my heart is absolutely with the family, and I can see both sides of what you're both saying, because I can get your point, June, to the respect of if somebody says this might make a difference and the funds are there and the mechanisms are there to enable that, why wouldn't you try? So I can see your point, and I don't know the answer. I'm assuming, to Greg's point, the answer must be because it's going to be painful or something to move him. But I don't get why they're not just saying, OK, try it. But then I think, to your point, Rachel, I think emotions are so high, and understandably so. They're so high in this case that a court doesn't have those emotional pressures, so they can actually digest information that we're not privy to absolutely everything that's gone on in those courts, nor are we medical experts, so we don't know really the full ins and outs of what's going on. So to some degree we have to trust those courts, that they've sat and taken the emotion and listened rationally to what's happened and concluded what they've concluded. And all I want is just, for the child to be pain-free. And I am, even the US medication, even the doctor has said he hasn't treated anyone using this medicine with the collection of issues and challenges that Charlie's got.
Also, can I just add to that in terms of the medical evidence being unanimous? It's not, because they're waiting for this fresh evidence. So if this fresh evidence comes with something else, which it might.
But isn't Carol's point is the right one also, though, which is why I feel terribly split on the whole thing, because Carol's point, which is, even with that medical treatment, say it was successful, what sort of life is this child going to have?
The blindness isn't going to be reversed. The deafness won't be reversed. Yes, Charlie might be able to move a bit, but his life, for even if this works a bit, is confined to a life of lying in a chair or on a bed, being washed, being fed. What kind of quality of life is that? And I think doctors get I spoke to a doctor about this, and he says we get very upset that medicine keeps people alive that maybe shouldn't be, because for those people there is no quality.